All right, Barb, thank you. Well, Muncie Community Schools have been struggling for a number of years. Last year, the system taken over by the state and handed over to an emergency manager. The debt-ridden district could ultimately, though, be run by Ball State University, which would mark among the first times a public university would be mandated by state law to take over an entire school district. Ball State President Dr. Geoffrey Mearns is here now to talk about why the move is a good thing for the university and the community as well. And Dr. Mearns is always welcome.
Good to see you again.
House Bill 1315 making its way through the State House, approved by the House, will go to a Senate committee, I think, in the next week or so. Appears to be on a track for approval. Why, in your view, does it make sense for the university to take over management of Muncie Community Schools?
Well, so there can be no doubt that there are challenges that are being faced in the school district, primarily financially, but those are not the exclusive ones. And we believe that the university is uniquely situated to help address those challenges. You know, we've been educating teachers and academic administrators for nearly 100 years. We believe we can bring that talent and experience to bear on solving the problems. We also think we can mobilize talent and expertise all across campus, and we believe that we can catalyze and organize community investment in the future of the school. So we think when we put those together, along with some philanthropic support, that we can bring all of the resources necessary to bear to solve those very significant challenges. Because the future of Muncie, the future of any community, is highly dependent upon the quality of the public schools.
Along those lines, education obviously is very important, but in these days, as an economic development, a business attraction and retention effort, is it your view that that's part of what's at stake here too, is that ability to attract and keep talent?
That's right, and one of the reasons we've heard such a very strong response from the business community in Muncie and in Delaware County is they've recognized that they've had challenges, struggles to attract talent to their companies, and they see this as a great opportunity to talk to those employees, those prospective candidates, and tell them about the good things that are happening in Muncie. This is an opportunity for us to change that narrative.
There are some critics, those who push back, saying this would mean a loss of local control. I think a part of the bill as it stands now would, you wouldn't have an elected school board, you'd have an appointed school board. What about the issue of lack of local control?
Well, so I think that's actually a misdirected criticism. I understand it, but I don't think it's really on target, because the current option right now is not to retain the powers of the local school board. In fact, as a result of the decision by the state agency, by the DUAB board back in December, the total control of Muncie Public Schools right now is in the hands of an emergency manager. We think this is much more of a local control. And we're not just invested like the emergency manager in a temporary short-term solution. We're invested for the long term. It took many years, perhaps a couple decades, for us to get in this situation. It's going to take many years for us to get out of it. And Ball State, our university, our future is linked to the future of the schools. So we're going to be there for the long term.
In this scenario, how important is community engagement, community involvement? How big a piece is that community engagement piece to your plan?
It's critical to the success of the plan. That's why we asked Chairman Brown, and it is in the legislation, that we have 2 years to develop a plan for the future of the schools. Some folks are concerned that that's too long of a time, but we think that period of time is necessary for us to get community input. We need the ideas of the teachers. We need the ideas of the parents. People in the neighborhoods. This has to be a community solution, not a plan that's just developed by experts on our campus, but we need to go out into the community to get their ideas. So community input and engagement is critical to our success.
When ultimately, pending the fate of this bill, when would Ball State be prepared to assume?
So assuming the legislation is passed, what it provides is that our board has to pass a resolution to accept this responsibility. I would anticipate that if the legislation passes in this session, we have a board meeting on March 30th. I would anticipate that the board would be prepared to act on that statute at that time, and then it becomes effective on July 1st.
When you arrived on the Muncie campus, I think from the beginning, our first interview, you talked about your interest in connecting Ball State to the community, to Muncie, to East Central Indiana. This would seem to be part of that vision. As you look at that over the next several years and that taking shape, how important will it be for Ball State to really engage with the region?
Right. So when I arrived, I certainly didn't anticipate taking on this responsibility, but it is consistent with that. And what I said at the time, and have said since I arrived on campus, campus. The future of our university is interconnected, is dependent upon the future of Muncie and in turn the future of the community schools. And also, as I've shared, our university, our great university, was founded as a result of the vision and generosity of the Ball brothers and the community 100 years ago. We think we have an obligation and an opportunity to repay that debt by restoring the schools and enhancing the community.
Final question, do you sense engagement in the business community, not just on the Muncie Schools issue, but more broadly on economic development and other partnership opportunities?
I do. They're engaged in this initiative, and also I would anticipate that they're going to become more engaged with us in terms of economic development and neighborhood revitalization efforts. And these two projects, these two very important tasks go hand in hand, restoring the neighborhoods and creating job opportunities and restoring the schools. So we're working on those together.
All right, Ball State University President Dr. Geoff Mearns will be following a lot of those stories, a lot going on the Muncie campus in the future. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much.
All right. Well, a reminder, all of our Eye on Education segments can be found at InsideIndianaBusiness.com. And if you have an interesting story idea for our Eye on Education segments, please send them to producer Tara Twig at ttwig@growindiana.net.